What does it take to be the gold standard of acting? At 76, I'm Sarah Reed, and if you're new here, welcome to Golden American Legends. I've spent years digging through archives and press kits, and today we're talking about a living master, Meryl Streep. Here's the wild part. She's 76 years old and still breaking records. She holds 33 Golden Globe nominations, the most by any actor ever, and has 9 Golden Globe wins. That alone could be a full story, but it's just the headline. Even now, she's pulling fresh nominations and turning heads, which tells you her longevity isn't luck. It's craft and discipline. How does she keep doing it? What's the secret to staying relevant and excellent for half a century? If you love deep celebrity stories and respectful fact-first tributes, hit subscribe. Seriously, you're gonna love this. What's your favorite Meryl role so far? Let me know in the comments. I'll share mine later. We dug into everything from old Hollywood weekly clippings to canned press kits to trace the real path of her rise. But to understand the present, we need to rewind to the girl from New Jersey who walked into Yale Drama and came out of force. Ready? Let's roll back the reel. Who was Meryl Streep before she became, well, Meryl Streep? Picture a Jersey-born kid with a sharp ear and a love for accents, studying drama at Vassar for her BA, and then grinding it out at the Yale School of Drama, where she earned her MFA in 1975. That training mattered. It wasn't just stage time. It was a toolbox she would carry for decades. After Yale, she moved to New York, hit the stage, and you could already sense that precision. The way she dissected character, the way she listened. Then came the late 70s, and the film world discovered her. In 1978, she landed The Deer Hunter, and at just 29, she scored her first Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actress. You can feel the shift in old reviews. People weren't just impressed, they were curious. Who is she? A year later, 1979, she answers that question with Kramer versus Kramer, opposite Dustin Hoffman, playing a woman who's both fragile and determined. That role brought her first Golden Globe win and her first Oscar. Imagine hitting that level at 30. It's the moment the industry realized she wasn't any newcomer. She was a powerhouse. And yet, that was only the opening chapter. The roles right after, they would cement her as Hollywood royalty. Let's step into that ascent. How does one actress win so many awards and still keep raising the bar? Here's the scope. Meryl Streep holds a record-shattering 33 Golden Globe nominations. Yes, 33, the most ever by any actor. She's won 9 Globes, which is almost absurd when you line those statues up. On the Oscar front, she's taken home 3. Best Supporting Actress for Kramer versus Kramer, then Best Actress for Sophie's Choice, and later Best Actress again for The Iron Lady. And it's not just film. She conquered television too. In 2003, she won the Emmy for HBO's Angels in America, an all-time miniseries performance that proved her range crosses any medium. The industry noticed the bigger picture, not just individual roles. In 2017, she received the Cecil B. DeMille Award at the Golden Globes, a career honor that says, "This isn't a hot streak. This is sustained excellence over decades." At age 74, she landed that 33rd Golden Globe nomination. Think about the stamina behind that. Were you surprised by those numbers? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments. I'll be honest, every time I tally them, I have to double check. Our team literally cross-referenced official award sites just to be sure. And yet, with all that acclaim, she kept hunting for challenges. What do you do after you've climbed the mountain? You change the mountain. What announces a legend more clearly than a role that becomes a benchmark for acting itself? For Meryl, that moment was Sophie's Choice in 1982. She went beyond accent mastery. She built a life on screen, a history, pain you could almost touch. That performance brought her a second Oscar, now for Best Actress, and it set the tone for the 1980s, fearlessness. Around this time, she toggled between thrillers like Still of the Night and intimate dramas, showing a range that kept critics on their toes. When I revisit the archival footage, what stands out isn't just technique, it's empathy. She doesn't imitate people, she inhabits them. You can feel the research in every pause, but nothing feels academic. It's lived in. That's when the cultural conversation starts to shift. People stop asking, "Is she good?" and start asking, "What can't she do?" The fun part? Even as she packed in serious work, she didn't shy away from offbeat projects, which kept her unpredictable. That unpredictability becomes part of the brand. This was the era when the floor of a Meryl Streep performance became most actors' ceiling, and it set her up for a career where the next role could be anything. Speaking of anything, wait until you see how she flipped expectations in the 2000s. What do Meryl Streep's roles tell us about her influence? That she refuses to be boxed in, and by doing so, she expanded the box for everyone else. She's played a glamorous, cutthroat fashion editor in The Devil Wears Prada and a stern, formidable nun in Doubt. She stepped into the shoes of a world leader in The Iron Lady, then turned around and belted ABBA in Mamma Mia. That spread isn't random. It's a statement. Women's stories contain multitudes. Cannes 2024 put it plainly, praising her significant impact on the portrayal of women in cinema. When a festival with that kind of gravitas salutes you for what you've done to the image of women on screen, that's legacy in real time. Time has called her a veritable avatar for the art of acting, which I love because it captures the way her presence shifts the energy around a project. Even her voice work keeps surprising me. She's narrated as the world's last humpback whale in a climate series, turning a PSA into poetry. So what's the pattern? Power, vulnerability, humor, rage. She treats each as tools, not boxes, and every tool is sharp. And just when you think you've seen her whole palette, she'll splash a new color, which sets the stage perfectly for her latest reinvention. How did a Yale-trained stage actor become a screen whisperer? It starts with the way Meryl listens. On stage, timing is everything. On camera, listening is a close-up. She brought stage discipline, the breath work, the precision with vowels, the way a gesture can carry character, straight into film. Early interviews hint at her obsession with accents and dispositions. That's not show-off stuff, it's empathy. She tries on lives like clothes and asks, "Does this fit truthfully?" When I've talked with veteran dialect coaches over the years, they speak about her with a quiet awe. She arrives prepared, but she's pliable on set. It's the sweet spot where craft and curiosity meet. That's why she can jump from a mother navigating a custody battle to a fashion titan deciding a magazine's fate without breaking the spell. She carries the scene without consuming it. And for younger actors, just being across from her is like a master class. The camera loves confidence wrapped in nuance, and that's been her signature from the first close-up. All of that groundwork explains why, decades later, she can still land a scene that feels like opening night. Which brings us to a moment everyone was buzzing about in 2023. At 76, what's next for an icon? In 2023, Meryl stepped into Only Murders in the Building as Loretta Durkin, an aspiring Broadway actress who's waited her whole life for a yes. And then that audition. Time described it as incandescent, capital A acting, not subtle, but warm, controlled, and grand. It wasn't just a character auditioning. It felt like a love letter to every actor who keeps going. That single sequence reminded audiences that she can still detonate a room with a monologue, and the industry took note. That role earned her yet another Golden Globe nomination her 33rd at age 74, adding to a record that keeps stretching. I loved how the show used her mystique, even leaning into that fan refrain Time joked about. Who can say? It's Meryl. It's a wink and a truth. What strikes me is the humility behind the glamour. Loretta's hunger mirrors the real-world discipline Meryl still brings to set. She could coast on legacy. She doesn't. She rehearses, refines, and risks. And just when you think that's the capstone, the next tribute arrives. What does it feel like to watch a career receive a global salute? Cannes 2024 gave us that moment. Juliette Binoche introduced Meryl Streep to a standing ovation, a room full of filmmakers and actors rising for the craft, not just the celebrity. In her speech, Meryl thanked her mother and spoke about the rapid pace of life and career. There was gratitude in it and a kind of gentle warning. Time moves fast. Do your work with care. It hit me because it connects the young actress hustling in New York to the icon on the Riviera. The through line is discipline and grace. This wasn't nostalgia. It was recognition of how she's changed the frame for women on screen and inspired generations behind it. When you line up the honors, Oscars, Globes, the DeMille Award, and then place Cannes on top, you see the arc. A career that's both decorated and evolving. And the crowd's reaction? That was the industry saying, keep going. Which makes me wonder, in a world constantly refreshing its feeds, how does she keep deepening the work? The answer lives in the habits that built the legend. What keeps a legend sharp? Routine. Meryl's reputation is built on relentless preparation, accent study, physicality, how a character breathes when no one's watching. It's the unglamorous grind that makes the glamorous look effortless. People call her kind and intelligent in interviews, and you feel that intelligence on screen. Every beat seems considered, never fussy. She brings empathy into the room, which lifts everyone else. I've heard younger actors describe the way scenes settle when she arrives, like the tempo drops into the pocket. That steadiness is why she can shift from comedy to tragedy without whiplash. And it's also why she's still getting top-tier scripts at 76. Writers pitch original roles for her, sometimes even horror, because they know she'll find the human core. That's the legacy of craft. Not hot takes, not gossip, work, and work that continues, which leads to the bigger takeaway here. She didn't just survive Hollywood's ageism, she rerouted it, and that rerouting shows up in the roles themselves, how they talk about power, tenderness, and possibility. How do you measure influence beyond trophies? You look at the ripple. There's the memey shorthand, it's Meryl, which in fan speak means expect excellence. But underneath the jokes is a real cultural shift. Her characters gave audiences older female leads who aren't side notes. They're engines. Think about the way The Devil Wears Prada reframed a powerful woman's authority, or how Doubt asked us to sit with moral ambiguity led by a stern, complex nun. These aren't just parts, they're conversations. That's why Cannes praised her significant impact on the portrayal of women in cinema. You can feel her fingerprints on casting conversations today. Can we center women over 40, 50, 60, and still open a movie? Her career says yes. Even her voice work, like embodying the world's last humpback whale, extends empathy to the non-human, threading activism into artistry. That's a big modern idea. Performance as bridge. The Meryl effect is permission for artists to stretch, for audiences to demand depth, and for studios to bet on complexity. And if that's the culture she helped create, imagine what the next act could do. What does aging look like when you refuse to dim? With Meryl, it looks like curiosity with mileage. She's working in her 70s, earning fresh nominations, and taking roles that would exhaust actors half her age. The point isn't that she's defying age, it's that she's defining it. At 74, she nailed that 33rd Golden Globe nomination for Only Murders in the Building. At 76, she's being honored on major stages and still listening for parts that surprise her. For fans who grew up with her, that's more than comfort. It's a map. Keep learning, keep risking, respect the craft, and let your work carry the years you've lived. The best part? None of this requires perfection. She's not chasing the flawless take. She's chasing the truthful one. That's why she reads modern, because truth never goes out of style. If you're feeling that spark, you're not alone. I feel it too, every time I rewatch Sophie's Choice or laugh at her deadpan in Prada. Which brings us to the heart of this tribute, the legacy and the lessons we carry with us. So, why does Meryl Streep endure while trends come and go? Because she treats acting like a living study, part technique, part empathy, part stubborn joy. Over roughly 50 years, she's stitched together a career that respects both audience and art. 3 Oscars, 9 Golden Globes, an Emmy, the DeMille Award. And yet none of those explain the hush that falls in a theater when she appears. That hush is trust. We know she's going to bring something precise and human. I think often about that canned remark on the rapid pace of life and career, how it sounds like a reminder to slow down inside the work, to pay attention. It's a lesson for any creative person, at any age. Build the habit, and the habit builds the legacy. Here at Golden American Legends, I try to honor that by doing the homework, interviews, reviews, archives, so we can see the full tapestry, not just the highlights reel. And when you look at the tapestry, the pattern is clear: resilience, curiosity, and a fearless appetite for new colors, which sets up the perfect final question. What does Meryl Streep's story teach us about aging and artistry? That mastery is a practice, not a finish line. Even at 76, she works like it's day one, curious, prepared, open. She's won 3 Oscars and 9 Golden Globes, sure, but the bigger prize is the respect that spans generations. Time's playful line keeps echoing in my head. When she shows up, anything feels possible. It's Meryl. And that canned moment, thanking her mother and reflecting on the rapid pace of life, lands like a note to all of us. Do the work you love, with care. Thank you for watching. If this resonated, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that honor legends with heart and receipts. Which of Meryl's performances moves you most? Or what lesson do you take from her journey at 76? Drop it in the comments. I read them all. And if you're new here, I'm Sarah Reed, and this is Golden American Legends, where we turn history into inspiration. See you in the next one.